And it is 7 o'clock, so we'll call the meeting to order for the Londonderry Utilities Committee, for Tuesday, August 5th, 2025. So,
Sorry.
good evening, everybody, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So, thank you, everybody, for attending tonight. We're down a few people. I understand that Ann will not be joining us, and Martha will not be joining us, and Ron will not be joining us. So, for Ann, I'm going to appoint John to vote, and for Martha, we'll have Joy vote for Martha. And haven't heard from Ray if Ray's going to be here or not.
He's outside talking on the phone.
Okay, so Ray will be here as well. Guys, are we expecting Sean tonight, by any chance?
Nope.
Okay.
Sorry, stuck with just me.
Oh, that's fine. We'd rather have people who do things, so thank you.
You do.
Is this on?
I do lots of things.
No,
Sorry, got you.
I think we all appreciate people we know who gets things done around here.
Yeah,
So,
no, Sean is actually, Sean, he would have liked to be able to be here, but this was his visit to the school board tonight.
Ah,
That's the reason.
Yeah, we know where we stand. We know where we stand. So, just moving on down through the agenda, public comment. We have nobody from the public here tonight, so we will continue on there and get into administrative board work. John sent out minutes a couple of days ago. Any feedback? They look good to me. I read through them. I'll take a motion to approve the minutes.
I make the motion.
Second.
All in favor of approving the minutes from our last meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the minutes are approved. Thank you, John, once again for doing the minutes.
Late arrival.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Moving on to discussions with staff. Kirsten?
Everything I have, I feel like we're going to talk about later, which is the water criteria underwater.
Yep.
And then you're leading the discussion on the Freedom Energy Logistics, so I can defer to later in the meeting.
What do we want to talk about in terms of the ethics discussion?
Gotcha. Okay. So basically, there is, thank you for reminding me. I did forget about that. So Sean is revising and soliciting public comment on the town's code of ethics. Lynn sent it out to all of you. There's a public comment session on Tuesday, August 19th, when you can come and share your thoughts about it here in this room. I do believe it's at 6 p.m. Otherwise, if you have thoughts or feedback on it, you can send it to Tanya. Her email is on there. She's collecting thoughts and feedback. This is what our town manager does when he implements a new policy. He won't put in a new policy until it's gone through an extensive comment period. Sometimes that comment period is just with staff. Sometimes it might be just with staff and boards. In this case, we're seeking input of the staff, boards, committees, and the general public as well. So we encourage you to review the document, and please provide any feedback that you might have, either at that public information session or to Tanya.
Excellent, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any questions for Kirsten?
What
Okay.
it's worth, I thought it was a marked improvement on what we have. I was very happy with it.
Excellent. I will pass that on. Thank you. I actually do have one more thing looking forward that I just thought of right now, and that is I'm going to be reaching out to all the different committees, and we're going to talk about, I don't know if you caught at the council meeting, not this past one, but the one before, the council gave Sean the go-ahead to work on developing a strategic plan. And so, for the town. And so the strategic plan is basically a one-year plan. It's not pie in the sky. It is things that we're actually going to accomplish, measurable goals over the next year with a forecast forward for years 2 and 3. It's different from the master plan in that's it's much shorter term and it's got much clearly delineated action items in it. And so in September or October, probably October for this board, he and I will be doing a very brief presentation on it and then soliciting your input as long as you would like us to come before you. Some boards think that they have a sufficient overlap with the master plan that they don't need to be part of this process, but other boards would like to. So if this is something that you would like, if you would like to have that brainstorming session, we just ask that while we're here presenting it, you keep your utilities hat on. And then if you want to talk about other things, we can set up times to do it outside or do public information sessions or do written comment.
Sure. Good, I think we would love to have you address the committee,
Awesome.
and I'll try to do my job by keeping the topics just focused on utility committees items, so that's good. I think it'd be great. It'd be great.
All right, and that is all the administrative information I have for you.
And just as a reminder, just you brought it up last month, so all of our terms are up in December, so be thinking about re-upping or what your plans are for doing that. And I also think at that point in time, we should be looking at the subcommittees and seeing if we want to mix up who's on what subcommittee, if there's any interest, or if people want to be doing something different than what they're doing today, too. I think it's going to be a good opportunity just to look at how we operate and who's responsible for what. If everybody's comfortable doing what they're doing, that's great, but we'll have that discussion just so we can talk about it. So,
If I could just add to Kirsten's thumbnail description of the difference between a strategic plan and a master plan, I would add that the strategic plan facilitates a great deal more accountability
Yes,
in the actions that'll be in it.
absolutely.
good.
It will have clearly, each task will have clearly delineated ownership and who's going to be working on it.
And a due date? I would hope.
So the idea, the general idea of this.
Targeted. due
Yeah,
date.
so targeted in terms of what portion of the year, what quarter, it's definitely sequential. I think it will depend on the goal, whether it has a hard and fast due date or what part of the year it will be done in. You know, we have a number of large projects that we're really excited about on the staff level anyway. You know, Sean mentioned the asset management software last night, which we're really thrilled about that. We don't have a really robust asset management program, and we're going to be looking at getting all of our utility assets, all the sewer, all the wastewater, everything into that, in addition to all our facilities and all of our outdoor space, all of our fields, all of our recreation, our roadways, our signs, everything is going into that. So we're really excited about that. And that's another big project that'll be kicking off this fall.
Yep. No, and I just make that comment because I think every strategic plan has to
Yep.
have a targeted outlook date.
Yep. And it's designed
Because-
for 1 year.
Yeah, and that's when we start doing things, is when, like, oh, I better get going on it because it's, someone's gonna
Absolutely,
hold me
yep.
accountable if I don't get going on it.
Definitely.
Okay. Martha has been giving us the master plan update status. I know tomorrow, the master plan steering committee is making a presentation to the planning board. Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission will be there as well. So the planning board's getting a current view on where we're at. I think generally speaking, the planning board's gonna try to make things move a little bit quicker. But, so, you know, if you're interested, be here tomorrow or tune in on TV tomorrow and see where we're at with the master plan.
Who's doing the presentation?
Sylvia and Kelly will be, Sylvia Van Olak from Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission and Kelly Karen from the Planning Department, Planning and Economic Development Department.
Does she still have, she has assistant manager hat too?
Two hats.
Yes, yep,
Assistant.
she is the assistant town
Assistant.
manager and the director of economic development and planning.
Yep.
Planning and economic development, sorry.
I think Sylvia's going to be the prime presenter tomorrow, but it'll be the two of them doing a dual presentation. And with that, there's been a lot of subcommittee activity, at least on the Water and Energy Subcommittee, so I'd like to spend a little bit of time walking through what's been going on with that. And we've been having energy go first, so I think we'll just keep on going down that path. Now, we're looking for a couple of decisions, or at least one decision tonight as well with the Energy Subcommittee. But number one is looking at the Community Choice Aggregation Program. So we had a meeting with Freedom Energy Logistics, Paul and I did, and we've met with Sean Mulholland to talk about, you know, the opportunity or not to implement the program this year. And based on the information we got from Eversource with the rate information, that'll be effective in August. Right now, we're not recommending moving forward with the program. It just, there isn't a competitive reason to, or competitive pricing reason to do it at this point in time. And even our company, Freedom Energy Logistics, our partner, has recommended that we don't do it at this point in time. So at this point, I don't want to say kick it down the road, because that's kind of, has a negative connotation to it, but we're going to wait till it makes financial sense for the residents. Ray, you have a question. I can see it in your eyes. No, but before you get there. No, before you get there. But at this point in time, I think, you know, our recommendation to Sean, and I think Sean is in agreement with this, we're not going to recommend implementation until the rates, rate differences change between our aggregation partner and what Eversource can provide. So that's where we're going with that. So we're going to continually monitor that, but we'll see where we're going at this, you know, the next time Eversource comes forward with a rate case. Ray, you had a question?
Well, no, I just wondering, for what I hear on some of the news, that Eversource and I think at least one of the other utility committees, companies are intending or have put in for another increase. So,
Not for the supply side. That was
No.
for the distribution side.
okay.
Two
And so-
very different things.
Yeah, and so the supply side is remaining pretty constant at this time?
So right now, Eversource came in, and correct me if I'm wrong, Paul, Eversource came in with 11.2 cents per kilowatt hour for the supply side. And the aggregation partners cannot adequately compete with that. The price came in lower than was expected. That Eversource came in with a lower than expected price that the PUC approved. And, you know, and we never even got a price from Freedom Energy. They just said, yeah, we can't meet it. You know, we can't be competitive with that, so we're not going to recommend moving forward.
But don't we expect that to continue? In other words, Eversource continuing to look at the market and try to be, I mean, competitive with the other aggregate companies.
So you're asking for the crystal ball, right?
Well,
We don't know.
yeah,
We don't know.
yeah, well, I'm, I don't
So,
know either, but,
They have a very defined process they need to follow by regulation as to how to go out and secure the power. So what they do is they go through that process, and then they go before the regulators saying, we followed the process and this is the price. And the regulators say, yep, we agree with the price, or we don't. That occurs every 6 months. It can go up, it can go down. Recently, it went up to below 10%, 10 cents a kilowatt hour to 11 point something cents. It's interesting because Community Power just raised theirs from 9 cents, 9+ cents to 13+ cents.
They're the biggest aggregation partner in the state.
And there's some discussion that some of these power suppliers at the higher rates may end up being impacted by what is called attrition. That is, people leaving the higher rate and going to Eversource at the lower rate, which means there are few people to pay for the power in the big rate, which could have a very detrimental effect downstream. But every 6 months, they go through a very rigid fixed process to see what the power market says and make a recommendation to the New Hampshire Public Utilities Commission what to price the power every 6 months. And they go through that. It's August through end of January. February through August.
Yep.
So that they're not out to beat the competitive power suppliers. They're just out getting a procurement of power. Should nobody pick a power supplier, you will default to that power source. That's the way to look at it. And they're required by law just to follow the procedure.
And I-
Thank you.
Does that make
Thank you.
sense?
Yeah, I still wonder about the relationship between the power suppliers, the power plants, and Eversource.
There is no,
Well, I mean, so why would a power plant decide we're gonna charge, an aggregate company this amount, and we're gonna, charge Eversource this amount? Is it the amount of electricity they're gonna be selling?
that's up to each power supplier to make that decision. They can, when public service, Eversource goes out to bid, they'll go out to bid to a whole bunch of power suppliers. They can choose whether to bid into that process or not. What they do get out of it is they know they're gonna be buyers on the other side. So there's some assurity that they're gonna be able to run their plant. There's value in that, as opposed to shutting down their plant for 6 months, laying off all their employees, and, see if they can get it back in 6 months again to run the plant. So it's up to each individual power supplier to make that determination of what their strategy is. And it's a competitive market. Now, aside from that, there was a distribution rate increase as well.
Yep.
So that's a whole other
So there's
discussion.
been a distribution rate increase, and I think this is where it gets kind of muddy, and, if you're not really following what's going on, you got the distribution rates, you've got this is the fixed customer rate, there's another rate in there as well that they went for an increase on, and that's really between, in my mind, between PSNA, or Eversource and the PUC. I mean, there's no competition there. An aggregation partner has no skin in that game. That's all between Eversource and the PUC. You look skeptical, but,
Are you gonna have a discussion about solar and so forth?
yeah.
Okay.
Yep, John?
Not looking too far in the future, but if this continues, where we see Eversource maybe in the next 6-month period of time continue to be low, at some point in time, do we put a stake into the heart of the aggregation program? Or do we just continue to kick it down the road?
So that's a really interesting question, and, Paul and I have talked, we've talked with Freedom Energy a little bit, and I think you have to look down the road, what is the future of these aggregation programs, these community choice aggregation programs, and I don't know what they are at this point in time. When we started looking at this actively, it was maybe 2 years ago, and there was a fairly significant price difference between what Eversource was charging and what one of the competitive suppliers would charge. But, you look at CPCNH, the biggest player in the state, coming up, they're 18% higher than the Eversource rate. If, like Paul's talking about, we get some attrition, and I'm speculating when I say this, I don't have any inside information, but, do they have a viable business model going forward? I don't know, and it's not my place to ask, but.
Yeah, so the way I look at it is it provides another option. So when you look at it from the, residents of Londonderry and businesses in Londonderry, we now have 2 options that could provide benefit to them. Keeping those 2 options alive, there's value.
Yep.
The community choice power contract is a 5-year contract, but on both sides, there's a 6-month out clause. So you can get out of the contract at any time if you want. So you're not stuck for 5 years from that perspective. At least that's the current draft.
Yep.
So for providing both options, then that's the best of both worlds is the way I look at it. What, community choice, a power supplier could do for you is look at power contracts bigger or longer than 6 months, where Eversource cannot by law. So if it's advantageous to lock in a 2-year contract at a fixed price, you can get that from your supplier, but you could never get that from Eversource. So there's that option available to you as well. It's interesting to note that Eversource recently announced the possibility of building a new gas pipeline into New England, to bring more gas supply into New England. One of the reasons for the higher prices that just went up is the higher price of gas, which there's a lot of generation in New England that's based on gas itself. It's just, we don't have a natural supply of gas in New England.
I just recently had, I'm sorry, I'm stepping on somebody here, but I just recently had a discussion with someone who said, gee, whatever happened to that thing that you were working on that was gonna potentially reduce part of our electric bills? And I said, well, it didn't work out, and I don't know where it's going, and it's a little hard to forecast, although he and I both looked at the publication of rates, the rate comparison that's put out by the state, and it looked like the longer-term contracts are even more expensive right now than Eversource 6-month deal or any of those sorts. So I think one of the issues, not an end-of-the-world issue, but one of the issues I think you have with not moving forward or killing something like this is expectations that are probably were out there for some people about what would have happened as a result of this, so. And we may determine at some point in time, it's to our betterment to say, hey, look, we looked at this, we studied it we were ready to go, but the world has changed, and we're gonna look at other things now.
My perspective right now is, I think from a utilities committee standpoint, we've done the right thing. We're monitoring the rates, we're monitoring the competition, and we're not gonna go forward until we're convinced that we're gonna help the citizens of Londonderry, right? But our job at this point in time is keep watching it, and when the time is right, we'll make the move. But right now, we haven't had approached that where the time is right, so.
We should remember too that it costs us nothing to keep our options open.
Right.
So, and we have an easy escape clause if need be. So I think that, along with remembering that this whole idea of aggregation was born of a hypothesis that having the flexibility to do contracting over various terms, I mean, it could be 3 months for that matter, is ultimately probably gonna be advantageous. And so, I think we simply wait with bated breath. It doesn't bother me a bit.
Yep, yep.
And reevaluate every 6 months.
Yeah,
Yep.
right.
And kind of segueing off of that, the contract we have right now with Freedom Energy Logistics expires in January. They have provided a new contract for us to review. I sent it out to everybody. I hope everybody had a chance to read it. I think the recommendation of the Energy Subcommittee is to recommend to the town manager to sign the contract again for another 5 years. I think it's favorable to us. They've done a lot of work for us. I think I've been personally been very happy with the work that they've done to date. They haven't been paid a dime for the work they've done to date. But I think, I think it would be advantageous to Londonderry to continue that contract. I don't know if anybody has any questions on that aspect or not.
Well, it's basically a free call on energy power, should we choose to execute it.
Yep.
I mean, with an asset that volatile, if you get a free call, that's worth a lot.
Yep.
Even if you never exercise it, owning the option,
Keeping that option open.
absolutely.
Yep.
And we can say, we have, the strike price is dependent on when we exercise or when we trigger it. But we get to trigger whenever we choose.
Yep.
So, that just having it is worth thousands or millions. I don't know. It's worth something.
It's worth something.
It's better to have it than not, for sure.
Yeah. Any other comments on extending the, or recommending to the town manager that we extend the contract, or that he re-sign another 5-year contract?
Do we want to explore other aggregators before we have them sign that? I mean, these guys have been doing a lot of work for
They've
free.
been doing a lot of work
Doing a
for
lot
us.
of
I
work.
think they
Yeah.
have an out clause in the contract that's favorable to the town.
I
Um,
took a look at other aggregators. If you go to the New Hampshire Department of Energy website, there must be 50 or 60 aggregators from across the country that have registered, so gone through the paperwork with the New Hampshire Department of Energy to become a officially sanctioned aggregator. Doesn't mean that even if you called them up and asked for a quote, they would do anything about it, but there are a gazillion of them, most of which I'm sure are just throwing their hat in the ring, so to speak.
Sure.
So, I think, if you were to choose, you'd have to investigate probably one,
A lot.
the two that we've investigated, and we've already made our decision on those. And I don't know really of a third competitor that has the chops that Freedom Energy does. Correct me if I'm wrong, Paul.
No, since I've been on the committee, the advice they have given us has been very sound. And viewed as, I mean, they put a lot of time and money into this contract, into working with the town. You could take a position saying, like, we want a contract so we can get our money back. They haven't said that. They said, we want to do what's best for the town. And right now, they're not recommending going forward. That sound advice is worth millions. I mean,
Absolutely,
It
yeah.
really is worth a lot of money. And based on my experience, having worked for Eversource and PSNH for 43 years, I look at that advice, I look at ISO New England, I look at all, I gave, Lynn the spring report from ISO New England, all 50 pages of it. I still get into that stuff, okay? So if they had come back and recommended at the end of their contract for us to jump into this right now, my advice to the committee is dump them. They didn't do that.
Yeah.
They came back and said, now's not the time. Your customers are better off on the Eversource default rate for now, for the next 6 months.
That sounds like a good consultant then.
I mean, that's,
Yeah, it sounds like they're treating us fairly and honestly, and we have our representative that knows the industry, respects their judgment,
they're looking at this as a long-term relationship.
Yeah.
And that's, I don't think you can get much better than
Yeah,
that.
that's a valid vendor. That's a good vendor.
So, I don't know if there's any more discussion on that or not, but what I would like to entertain is a motion that we recommend to the town manager to sign a new 5-year contract with Freedom Energy Logistics for managing a community choice aggregation program, should we decide to move forward with that at some later date.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll make a second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so, Kirsten, I'll send a note to Sean tomorrow, but if you want to let him know that we are recommending that he does sign the contract with FEL, and if he has any questions over the next, until it happens, just give me a call, and we can bring in FEL and make sure that those questions get answered.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Great. Thank you all. I think that's the right choice, and I think it's a good decision, so. Moving on to other things, the other energy-related things. The town council approved the solar zoning ordinance a few weeks ago, so thank you for all of your inputs on that. I think it was, I think it's a well-written ordinance. I think it's gonna benefit the town. And so it was, I think, we were recognized for putting that together. The planning department recognized us for putting that together, and I think that was a kudo that's gonna go in our annual report. So thank you all for working on that and getting that through, over the goal line. Paul, you want to talk about the energy audit? We had some success on the energy audit as well.
Yes, The consultant came back and met with the town officials, Director of Public Works, and made a report out to the whole, as to the potential items. As I mentioned before, there are a lot of things that the town had already done and completed and took advantage of, but there are more opportunities. So GDS Associates has detailed a detailed report, which I guess we could share with the committee.
I did send that out, didn't I?
You did.
Yeah, I thought I sent that out to everybody.
And it has it by building, Leach Library, that type of thing. And they're recommending a little more analysis on a few things and see if that would make sense. They did indicate that, the rebates are going quickly, so if the town wanted to, enact it, but there's also some investment on the part of the town that they would have to make as well. So it's just not arbitrarily saying go. You have to work this out with investment by the town in itself as well. So I thought the report was well done, and they've come up with some interesting areas and a few areas to say, let's dig a little deeper and see if that's really worthwhile for the town. So they didn't arbitrarily just say, here's the 5 things, go do them. Very, a lot of analytics behind the numbers, which I particularly am fond of, as opposed to just making wild recommendations. So, anything from condenser boilers, compression air leak surveys, high-efficiency mini-split units, and that type of thing. There was a lot of discussion, if I remember, about the library, if I remember right.
Yeah, so the library is a little interesting twist on it, because we had the Director of Public Works kind of leading the charge from the town side. But I have to reach out to the library. The library is an independent organization. They don't fall under the town. So I just made a note of that. I have to reach out to them to see what they would like to see or what they want to do in
Yeah,
terms of
so
going forward.
some of the infrastructure there is fairly old.
Yep.
and There may be opportunities there, is what they're saying, so. So, it was very detailed report, and, they have some opportunities. Now it's up for the town to evaluate them and prioritize them and see which ones they wanna go after, because it will take some investment on the part of the town as well.
Yep. So it was interesting. I was visiting Kirsten last week, and the deputy fire chief was there, and he complimented on us with that report. He said, there was a lot of discussion on different fire stations and where they're at. And I think he was very happy to see that they had some ideas that they could look at in terms of reducing their energy consumption, and just, it was nice to get some feedback like that they appreciated, once again, appreciated the work that this committee is doing in terms of trying to help make things more efficient.
Mr. Chairman, a lot of the report, and I liked it too, I liked the way it was put together, but it had some payback information. If you do this, the payback will be that. Was there any, in terms of how the town operates, many of these things require investment, and I would think would have to get involved with the budget process that's coming up. Is there any way to see if there, like, for example, the library was prominent and throughout the report, is there any way of saying, hey, which of these are you moving forward on? Because you have to get them into your budget requests
Sure.
going forward. Same thing with fire department if they have some things. Sort of, that's if you don't do it now, you're not gonna get it for a whole nother year, which if there are rebate opportunities that are going away, they'll miss the boat on those. So, what, you're gonna contact the library, what do you see the process being?
So I'm not sure what the process will be with the library. I'm not familiar with how they operate. I'm only familiar with what I've seen on TV, so I don't know what that really means, right? On the town side, I'm gonna reach out to Dave Woolley, the Director of Public Works, Department of Public Works, and he's gonna be the guy that's gonna be making the determination as to what projects to move forward with and making sure the budget reflects those projects accordingly. But I see us just kind of prodding and poking and say, don't forget, make sure you do this, and I think it's gonna work. But once again, I think that's some of the ongoing work that we'll be responsible for, that we should be undertaking.
Well, I'm thinking, first of all, about the request for a strategic plan. Should some of these projects get plugged into that so that we have folks held accountable and they do in fact put it in their budget and get some priority, particularly where this is something that has moderate term payback for the town. As opposed to some other things that, might be nice to
Sure,
have
sure.
in current town council vote, so.
Yeah, they identified, like, for example, 7 initiatives that had a payback of 1 to 3 years. And so that would be a higher priority consideration than, 3 to 5 or 5 to 7 years and that type of thing, so. But I don't really understand how the town process works to put that investment in, so.
I share John's interest and concern here. I think that we may miss an opportunity if we just look at this as assignable to the various silos in town. You know, if the fire department goes one way and the library goes another, it may be, that would be simply the sum of that part. But if they can contract together, they might be able to do things that take advantage of call it economies of scale. So somehow, and maybe Dave Woolley is equipped to do this, we need a really holistic look at how to implement the recommendations in that report. And if it's us, then that's fine too, but I don't want to just, I think we got to do more than just, throw this onto the table and say, pick whatever pieces look good to you. Because I think there's an opportunity, and maybe even in the CIP process, to put in a wedge of funding that does energy efficiency. And then, we now have good data on which to base such a request. So let us take advantage of that, and, if the town manager is agreeable, I think, I don't know if it's the committee's place or we prepare something for Dave, but let's put together, because I think the threshold is 100,000, is that right, Kristen?
For CIP projects?
Yeah.
I believe so. I'd have to double check that for you, though. I believe
So,
you're correct.
whatever, yeah, but we could easily get to that number. But if we can tell the taxpayers, this particular item on the warrant is gonna save you this much, I think that would be very attractive. That's my thought.
That's interesting. So what you're suggesting, I think, Mike, is have the town manager perhaps bundle
Right.
maybe the top 5, 6, 7 items, come up with that $100,000 expenditure, and then on the warrant article, talk about payback being 1 to 2 years, or whichever ones we end up targeting. I guess my question would be, should this committee or the energy subcommittee perhaps make very specific recommendations? That, these are the top 7 items on this report that we think you should give hard consideration to moving forward in the next year for the next budget process, et cetera, under a bundled term of energy efficiency.
Well, does the town have the ability, without doing a warrant article, to say, hey, if we put new light bulbs, I don't know if that's one of the things, if we put new light bulbs in the fire department, it'll pay itself off in a year and it's gonna cost $5,000.
Yeah.
Does the town have discretionary funds? Are you saying that if it gets up over 100,000, that's where you need the warrant article? Or
No,
is
not
it-
necessarily.
No,
So
So how much
there's
can
a
we do
threshold
without-
for what has to be, for how large a project has to be to fit on the CIP, I believe. And I can double check that and I'll send it out, I'll reply to that in email. There's just, but also just because something is on the CIP does not mean that it needs to be paid for through a warrant appropriation. The CIP is a general outlook of major projects that are coming up. We've used it sparingly in the past. I believe the philosophy is changing to have the CIP be more comprehensive and include as many projects as we have on the horizon. So certainly energy efficiency could fit as a CIP project. And I believe that when Sean spoke to you at the last meeting, he mentioned that he could see this committee suggesting projects for the CIP as well. So there's certainly some thought going into that. The more projects you have ready, the more easily it is, again, to find other funds that come up that would not necessarily have to come from a warrant appropriation. Grant funds, etc. The more ready a project is, and I think you've heard Sean say that before in the past too, having those, water projects, for example, shelf ready makes it much easier for us to move when funding does come available. So having the project as well thought out as possible is going to make it that much easier to place it on an agenda of things to do. So.
I think perhaps these items and the costs need to be reviewed. Are they relatively small money? 5, 10,000, 20,000, or are they 100,000 or more? And if you put, I believe the CIP is kind of looking forward 5, 10 years. I think maybe we could take advantage of making suggestions that maybe this could be done short-term after a further review.
I think there's plenty of data in this report as well. Like, for example, I'm just looking right now at one of the figures. It's showing, they've shown, historical electric use, so existing use of 2023 and 2024 versus like a benchmark, what they say is a benchmark line. And you can clearly see which buildings are kind of meeting or below that benchmark, and central fire is way above that benchmark. So we can easily use this data, I think, to target and to say these are what's recommended for the central fire, and this might be the best one to go for the this coming year, say. So I think that we should probably, as an energy maybe subcommittee, take a little bit further look at this and then just kind of come up with, like the water committee did with their priority.
Sure.
Priority benchmarks. Do that
Be a good
for
start.
priority.
Yep.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, I think I'll reach out, I think it's the right thing to do to reach out to Sean and to Dave Woolley and say, how do you want to proceed with this as well? And have them on board with how we
Right.
make the decisions so that we don't have to do things twice or 3 times. Just figure out the best way to.
Yeah,
move
the
forward.
next step of the projects is to list those very specific projects and study those projects. And then they come out with a report to basically say, if you do this at this cost, this is gonna be your payback. And it's a very specific kind of, but you gotta prioritize that. We also had a discussion about what's the involvement of staff on the part of, the town to be involved in a lot of these projects. And I said, it all comes down to depending on the project. Projects that I've been involved with in a whole other area, they were pretty self-sufficient. They didn't require a lot of my resources to execute the work, okay? They know how to do this. And so I think the Public Works Director was very impressed with the fact that he would not have to assign, half a dozen people to this thing to make this project work kind of thing, and that seemed to be of interest to him. So we had those kinds of discussions, saying, these are professional contractors, they know what they need to do. Once you let them loose, go and support them, but they're off and running. And they get it done. That's been my experience.
So I've taken 2 action items. One will be to reach out to the library, the director, see what the see what their, I don't want to say interest is in moving forward with this, but to see how we move forward with this in
So-
terms of implementing some of these suggestions over there.
Mr. Chair, may I make a suggestion on that as well? So, my suggestion might be to meet with Dave again, before meeting with the library director, or meet with them both in tandem, because the library is its own, has its own governing board and its own
Right.
entity, but it is a town municipal facility. So there is some overlap that's outlined in the documents that are being authored to the memorandum of understanding that is being worked on right now between the town and the library.
Okay.
So there is definitely some municipal facilities responsibility there. If you'd like, I can work to get a meeting on the books with Sean and Dave
Sure.
as well to start.
Yep.
And then I can see what Dave's availability would be to come to potentially either the September meeting or a September subcommittee meeting.
Good.
If you think that would be beneficial.
I think it would be beneficial. I do. Good. So thank you, Kirsten.
You're welcome. And you were right about the $100,000 threshold. A capital project is defined as a tangible project or asset having a cost of at least $100,000 and a useful life of at least 5 years.
And would there be any issue, Kirsten, to bundle something under the umbrella of energy efficiency to get to that $100,000 threshold?
I think that would be necessary, because the other thing about a capital project is that normal maintenance and repair are not included in it, so it would have to be a transformative project. It would have to be like actual substantial improvement. So that's why, like, if, for example, I was looking at the report and like the $10,000 for, there was an upgrade at the library that they suggested for $10,000, right? That wouldn't be eligible for the CIP on its own. That said, it doesn't mean that it can't be fleshed out as a project individually. And I think that's where you're going to need to look at these, like, how could they be parceled out, but also how could they be grouped together depending on the funding available and the time frame that you want to operate in. It's much the same as the water projects, right? You know, do we have enough to do as we move forward? Is there a funding piece available to do a small piece? Or if there's a larger funding, are we going to take smaller pieces and put them together, or a larger piece and break it up? Those are all the things that we need to know, and that's where gathering all that information is the next step that you guys were talking about that I think is crucial for this.
Any other questions? That's what I have for the Energy Subcommittee. Any questions in general for the Energy Subcommittee? Moving on to water.
Well, this is appropriate to be going to water. This is just a thought, or I have no idea if it makes any sense, but in the coming years, if the water expansion plan is successful, we're gonna be digging up a lot of streets. I was looking at some data today that shows the, kilowatt hour cost of natural gas versus propane. And it's a remarkable difference. And if you think about propane trucks driving around with drivers and taking time to fill tanks, it's not surprising, I suppose, as opposed to, so the question is it worth investigating as we're digging up streets and laying line, that we should be thinking about natural gas lines at the same time and saving some money that way?
And underground utilities and pipe for water and sewage on the same place at the same time.
Yeah,
That's a great
all
idea.
true.
Yeah.
I looked just to get some idea, if you're gonna run a water line and a gas line, common practice is 2 feet horizontal separation, 1 foot vertical separation. So you can't put them kind of close together is the bottom line. And I'm sure, I saw some numbers too for sewer, and it's kind of the same thing. They can't be right next to each other, but, you can dig one hole is the bottom line.
Yep. I think that makes a lot of sense, or at least to do the research.
So I'm going to defer that to, I think, to the town manager. Is that something he wants us to do? That, I'm not gonna say that's an insignificant task, right? And, you know, and I think it's gonna, I think we need to understand if that's something that the town wants us to undertake. And it may be, and if it is, then I think we'll do it. But, I think right now, my perspective is we have a lot on our plate right now, and I think we need to focus on what we have on our plate. But, your point's well taken though, Mike, too, so I understand that.
Yeah, I mean, it's case by case. Every project that requires a line, that will have to be evaluated, you
Yep.
know, what other lines are available. But there's definitely a savings, just in principle, to go into natural gas,
Yep.
even if it's, I mean, we have this, I think it's a 20-inch natural gas line that runs right through our town, south to north to the plant. You know, I don't know if there's a way to capitalize on that or not, but
Yeah, but, Mike, you thinking long-term of providing natural gas to residents in the
well,
town
I'm
of
thinking, I'm
Hardwick?
thinking particular municipal facilities, but yeah,
Well,
ultimately,
the municipals already have it, I think.
well, it's not all of them.
Well-
South School burns oil, I think.
Right,
Um,
but the other ones are on natural gas, and this is, and,
Yeah,
I think most of the municipal is on natural gas.
I don't know about the schools either.
The Well, the high school and North School are natural gas.
Yeah. It's just worth looking at, that's
Oh,
all I'm
yeah,
suggesting.
sure, worth looking at, but we got a lot of other things too.
And, yeah, and it's just like with the water, if you run a line, and you know, you probably wanna have off-takers.
I think it's a valid question. I'll ask the
Yep. Yeah.
question of
Yes.
the town leadership and see, get their 2 cents on it before we decide to jump into that.
Yep. That's all I'm asking.
And with that, moving on to the water subcommittee. Jeff, lots of activity on the water subcommittee, too.
We had a great conversation with town leadership and staff, or town leadership, and discussed and worked on and approved criteria for selecting areas to begin the build-out, sort of to sequence the build-out. Had a lot of really good discussion on this. The water committee voted on it. Everybody had a chance to comment, and we had a water committee to have it presented and discussed, and then we had about a week or two to sort of noodle it over. And then we had a second water committee meeting, where we came in and discussed it again and had the vote, and we've come to some language that the water committee agrees to. And again, this is the criteria we are recommending to the town leadership, the political leadership. And this is intentionally not numbered, given numbers as this is a 5, this is a 4. This is for them to consider, because if we start, our logic was, if we started saying number 1 is worth a 3, number 2 is worth 2.5, then it just becomes, instead of 7 things to decide on, it becomes, 49 things, 7 times 7 things to decide on. And it wouldn't add any value.
And it allows for gaming the system.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, these are our thoughts. I think if we can go through them. Kirsten, do you want to, thank you, Kirsten, for doing a majority of the work. All we had to do was edit, which makes it easier for us. But we can read through these real quick. If we want, we can look at the first one. And the way we did it in the water committee, we looked at them one at a time, and any comment, and then we had one vote at the end. If we think that's a good way to go, we can go through that.
Sure, yeah. And just to suggest, how the town council does, they know the action that we're asking for at the end of it. The action that we're asking for today is your approval to take this to the council
Yep.
on August 18th.
Yes.
Jeff and I will present, and with the intent of the council adopting these as the decision criteria. And I want to be clear that this was not coming out of my head. This was coming out of all of you and everything that all of you have contributed. This is from listening, from gathering everybody's input. It was pulling it together. And I'd also like to give a little bit of a shout out to Ray here, because Ray's always asking, look, there's a lot, Ray, you always like to tell us that there are many questions we need to answer, right? This tells everybody when we're looking to expand water, these are the questions. Here is what we need to answer. And here's what we need to know. So on that, I can start going
Please.
through.
Kirsten, as a general matter, if I understood correctly, these criteria aren't rank ordered.
They are not rank ordered in terms of a weighted average. We did place them in some sort of order as almost, the way I think of it is like tiebreaker, right? You have two projects that are both cost, you have the ability to get $5 million in grant funds. You have three projects that would cost that. How do we decide which one to do first? Then order comes into play a little bit. Where's the worst? Okay, so out of these three, where's the worst contamination?
How close is it to a major pipeline?
So one does mean something as
It
opposed
means
to 2, 3,
something,
4.
but it's not a hard and fast rank. And when I get to 8, you'll see part of the reason why is the last one. Because ultimately the order is going to depend largely on the funding, so that can move a project up and down the list.
Yeah, actually,
Yeah.
that was the source of my question.
Yep. So funding doesn't determine how focused we are on prioritizing it, but it certainly can determine how fast we can do it. Does that make sense? So if we're going to make a list of 10 projects that we want to get done, right? When we put that list out, we're going to say, these are the 10 we want to get done in this order. Of course, if one costs $40 million and one costs $600,000, and we find that we can get a grant for $600,000, but we have no hope of getting the 40 million yet, well, we're going to take that 600,000, even though it's further down the list. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, what you're talking about is matching the project to the grant opportunity.
Exactly, yep.
Which is rules of the world, let's
Yep.
face it. So what I'm trying to figure out is there a way to separate that? So all 1 through 7, those are things that you can think of in terms of degree. Number 8 is in terms of a kind.
Yep.
So
And so I'm just going to jump down to number 8 here.
yeah,
So that's why it does have that stipulation there.
I mean, what I would say is, I would take the 8 off, and I would say, however,
Yeah.
big however, all caps, all of this is dependent on, and I don't use these words, but matching the project to the grant opportunity.
Absolutely. And I definitely agree with you there. And I was kind of trying to think about how to put that on there. But when we come up with that initial list, right, before we even know what money's out there, we're going to start working on building out these neighborhoods and projects and projecting the cost out, right? So when we do that, we're going to have some semblance of order even before we know the funds, right? The goal is to have, Sean says, 10 projects, 10 water projects, shelf ready, so that we can put in multiple applications every year. So if we're putting in applications, for example, to next year, to the Drinking and Groundwater Trust Fund, and we're putting in just say 4 applications, right? The availability of funds in that, we know there's drinking and groundwater trust funds available, right? So we'll put in for that. That can help us influence what goes on that list first, but how do I put this? I'm talking in a circle now. Hold on.
But so what I'm just trying
Yeah.
to do is not let and when the counselors look at this
Yep.
with a lot less background than we have,
Yes.
going down and say, whoa, number 8, that should be number 1.
Yep. But it
So-
can't be number 1 because we don't know it yet.
Right, so what I'm saying is, it's a difference in kind. It doesn't belong in this list of priorities. It's an overarching consideration.
Yep.
So that when, people that are reading the Londonderry Times and they see these things listed, they'll come to the same wrong conclusion.
So you're saying there's 1 through 7.
And then
Right.
line.
And then there's
And then
life.
there's this
A
general
line.
consideration
Yeah.
for
Right.
everything.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So you would remain on there, but take out the number. take it, put a double line above it and say this,
Yeah, yeah.
because I agree, because I do think we need to have it on there, because then somebody, right? So somebody lives in neighborhood A, that's
ab-
number one.
Absolutely need it. Absolutely. It's
Cool,
more
all right.
important than anything else.
Is that like an annotation or a
Yep.
subtitle?
Yeah. No, but it makes sense. I see what you're saying, is that we want to make, it's not actually going to factor into our initial rank, our initial list of 10, what we pick as our first 10, but it's going to factor in later.
Determine which
Yep.
one gets funded, right?
Exactly. Yep. I like that idea. And that you guys can, why don't we go through the list and then we'll make that, noodle it,
Okay.
think about this, and then when we get to 8, you guys can make the decision if you'd like to remove the number or not.
Well,
Do
real
you
quick,
wanna go through the list, or do you just wanna take questions? Because I've been through the list.
Yeah, I've been through the list.
And so I think I'm just going to mention one and then ask if anybody has any input on one.
so real quick.
Yep.
Our last meeting for all of this was out of sequence meeting, so it was 22nd of July. I sent out the minutes for review, but I forgot to send it to the entire board. Should I have done that? You got the document anyways, right?
Minutes for the water subcommittee?
Yeah.
No, that's.
Okay,
going out to
because
the
I usually do
subcommittee.
that,
Okay.
and I wanted to do it for this one, but it's what Kristen's gonna go over.
So just very quickly, first one, basic contamination risk, both PFAS and other exceedances that are out there. Data sources, obviously the PFAS sampling maps and the private well data. We've started a project where we're soliciting well testing data from different neighborhoods. We've started our first one where we send out a letter and we ask them to send us directly their results. Sometimes the sampling map is out of date, and sometimes people's test results don't make it on there. And so we've had a reasonably decent response so far on the first 122 letters that went out. Any questions about having contamination risk there and on the top?
I just have a question, kind of a clarification of this. So, this looks like it's taking PFAS and kind of separating it out from other potential contamination, that, you know, the other contaminants that are in those standards. I get, you know, PFAS where it's such a concern. Is there some delineation that should be made between that and other things that would be on the groundwater standards, but not as much as a health concern of PFAS? And if we're not going to do that, then do we have maps for all of the other contaminants that are under consideration for those?
It's a great question. We don't have maps for all of the other ones, but several different well testing, on some occasions when they test the well, they're testing for a much wider range,
Right.
depending on what company they go through the testing, depending what testing package they get to. So we do have some data on other ones, not as substantial as PFAS. And obviously PFAS is the one that, because of the spread, because where we are, that is one of the most substantial concerns. Quite simply, we have the most data on that.
Yeah.
The flip side is we don't know what we don't know yet. So allowing us to construct the criteria to take into consideration other potential contaminants will keep us from having to go back and substantially revise them if 3 years down the road we uncover another major contamination site that we knew nothing about. Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Yeah. I guess what I'm seeing is, which I agree with. I think that, you know, PFAS it's important that we are focusing on PFAS, but there are so many other groundwater contaminants that we should be concerned about.
Yep.
And talking about and understanding what is happening with the flow of those through our town, through our state. So in that case, can we reword this a little bit, saying, you know, including ambient groundwater quality standards, contaminants, including PFAS, if you want
Saying
to.
reverse it? So-
Kind of, yeah, kind of, you know, where it still acknowledges that we have an understanding that we have a, you know, a real significant immediate problem with PFAS, but does not put that above any other contamination.
So you're saying areas where blah, blah, AGQS or P, so you're just saying reverse it?
I never, yes.
So I
I
think we
think
could do
that
that
might
with
be-
just adjusting the title to say AGQS exceedances, including PFAS.
Yeah,
Right.
If I do that, and we don't even actually need to change the sentence below, because PFAS is obviously the one that's on everybody's minds. Are we in agreement on that? Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Excellent. I'm not hearing any no's. So if I don't hear any no's, I'm just going to keep going. That's how this is going to roll.
Yes.
The
right.
main theme is contamination risk.
Contamination risk. Yep.
That's the main theme.
Yeah. All right, then sensitive populations, this is, well, I'm sorry, Kirsten, it's your.
Oh no, go ahead. Sensitive populations. And I do owe Anne an apology because I said I would have some data for her today that I just could not pull together. But sensitive populations, areas where clean water is even more important. And this is the language, sensitive populations is in line with what environmental health publications use when they're talking about populations that are particularly vulnerable to contaminants, not just the level of contamination. So those are some example facilities on there. And so we're going to take a look and see how many of those in town still need to be on, are not on water yet, but as we know that, that'll factor in. All right.
So my only comment there would be, we say churches with school facilities, we might want to just say private school facilities, regardless.
Sure.
Or public and private school facilities.
I'm not sure, are all the public schools on town water at this point in time? Maybe
I
not.
believe so.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So
I think simply the volume they use makes wells unsustainable, so.
Yeah.
So I can say private school
Private
facilities.
schools, and that would include everything.
Oh, excuse me, that being a priority, have all of them been contacted? Have we got the results from all the private daycares, whatever?
No, we don't have that information yet, no.
Okay, but that is a priority.
It is something that is on there. I need to look at the maps first. I'm working on getting all the data from all the different water systems so I can just simply see who is on what water. And then once there is, we can reach out to the facilities that are not.
But you did say that you have sent out notification or.
To one specific neighborhood so far. We're taking it in chunks.
I'm suggesting that's a priority.
Yep. I hear you, and that's going to depend on the next round of staff time that we have to do it. I need to evaluate it first before I can even get to the point of sending out letters. That's what I'm saying. So I need to look at it and see. I need to map it out first. And that mapping is currently, getting the correct and accurate mapping is currently one of my first priority with this, to get our mapping as accurate as possible.
Where would you get that from?
From the different water companies, working on getting that from all of them. So,
Kirsten,
Yep.
I have a list of all the Penachuk customers in Londonderry. I can email that to you.
yep. I'm not just looking for like a list. I'm looking for GIS data and
Okay, got it.
things. So Casey and I are working on it. It's something that Casey and I are talking about and working on. So it's just not.
So we're suggesting some of these potentially are on well water.
Some of them are, and that's what we're trying to find out. Yep. That's step one, is finding it out, and then step two is communicating. I guess that's what I'm saying there.
Thank you.
Yep. You're welcome. All right. So
On
yeah. Oh, go ahead.
number
Sorry, Mike.
two,
Yep.
On the title of number 2, we say senior centers, which to me means like the place up in North Londonderry where my wife goes for her yoga class.
Mm-hmm.
But then on the example facilities, we say senior housing developments, which to me is the large number of over 55 communities in town.
Mm-hmm.
And which could be problematic because, which one do we mean?
I think you'll find that most of those
Yeah.
are on municipal water already.
Could be, yeah.
And again, senior centers can be multiple different locations. Again, just because we don't have more than one in town doesn't mean we would. Senior centers can also be informal organizations. So again, it's more just an example, and it's more just multiple examples there. For this one, it's just trying to get people to understand what this is.
And Kirsten,
Yep.
I might suggest, in order to remove that confusion, you could just remove that parentheses in the title.
Mm-hmm.
And because you have the examples at the bottom, I think that's fine.
I hear you on that. Sorry, I had to pause and think about that. A lot of people are just going to read the titles. What I think I can do instead is just simply take out centers and put facilities.
There you go.
And I think that encompasses everything.
Yeah, and then you can take out developments too, right? And the examples.
No, I do want to keep developments in the examples because making sure that we have water to all senior developments, all 55 plus developments in town is something separate than a housing facility like the Baldwins or All American. So those are two different things.
Yeah.
But for shortening the title, senior facilities, I think works okay in there. For example, if somebody reads that far down, they're going to want more specifics. Proximity to existing water infrastructure. This one's pretty self-explanatory. And this is what we're trying to make sure we have a complete understanding of. Obviously, the closer it is to existing infrastructure, the easier it is to get water there. And then the next one, again, is fairly self-explanatory. Population density. Try and getting the most impact for each dollar. Getting the most people clean water. Number 5, construction feasibility, topography and land use. So what are the and this runs into the environmental constraints of construction. So not just how close you are to an existing water line, how much ledge, soil conditions, how can we actually build the lines? So wetlands, conservation, all of those things. So that's why this one is a slightly different one than the one prior.
Nesting bald eagles. Nesting bald eagles.
And bats.
Yeah. Yes, and that.
Don't forget the bats.
Yeah.
That happens, yeah. Turtles? Turtles.
I mean, the bats were the High Range Road thing, the bats. Yeah.
What was the extension to the airport? Yeah.
There's also frogs, salamanders, turtles. There's a lot. So and like we're joking, but it does matter. And
does.
yeah. Number 6 is rebate utilization. So looking at rates of rebate utilization. Number of things. So we know basically where people have already used it to put a POET system into their house and where it hasn't been used, and comparing that with known contamination rates. And trying to understand what funding people have. Because remember, when we construct water lines, we're constructing water lines. We're not constructing it from curb to door. So we need to think about, that's a data point, and understanding what funding sources exist for people to hook up once their water line runs by their house. Fire protection needs.
Could
Yep, go ahead.
low rebate use imply the opposite, that people with low rebate use won't have the propensity to pay the connection fee?
It could be either. It could be both. Low rebate use could mean that,
Well, we don't want to
yeah.
say, let's elevate this project because we don't think they're going to connect.
No, but there's also obviously an education component to go along with this, which is going to run parallel to this, about communicating the benefits of connecting to private wells, connecting to municipal water and switching from a private well. And some of it is quite simply, there's people out there who don't even know the rebate exists. And we want to make sure there's not certain populations that are underserved in that knowledge as well. So if we have a contaminated neighborhood where there's low rebate use, that's also going to signify to us that we have an education issue there too. So these are all the data points that we're gathering.
So I interpreted this not as a rebate concept, but more of a willingness to take action, to connect, or to get the rebate, or to do whatever you need to do to improve the situation. And you may have segments of the population that won't do anything, period.
That's what I meant by propensity to connect.
Well, that's how I viewed this as opposed to a rebate kind of thing. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it can be, but it can be, and then once we have that information, we can look at whether it's an awareness or a disinterest.
Fair enough.
And that's something that we do through that next step of communication once we gather the data. It's a very good point. Like, which is it? It could be both. But I think it is an important data point to consider because, again, the expense of these
I agree.
projects,
I
yeah.
agree. totally agree. You can
Yep.
put all the money in the ground and have it ready to go, and they'll say, not interested.
Yeah.
And then,
Water lines to nowhere.
Exactly.
That's why you do a real good survey first.
I,
Now, you could, just to solve that problem, eliminate the words, may indicate underserved zones. Limited awareness is certainly true. And then what is also true is that we can maximize state level support.
So I will say, underserved zones also might indicate, because remember the rebate is a reimbursement program.
Right.
We are generally an affluent community, but we are not universally an affluent community. There's probably people out there who can't afford the upfront cost and who won't qualify with the companies they might be on the borderline, and they might not be able to get the money advanced by certain companies. So, because to do that, you need to guarantee that you'll pay it if you don't get the rebate and if your finances aren't in a good place. So I do think it's important to leave it in there to highlight that not everybody is as economically prepared to undertake these projects without assistance. Does that make sense when I say underserved zones?
Good point.
I mean, I agree completely.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And there are areas in Londonderry that are underserved communities or not affluent and are applicable for rebates.
Exactly. And so again, it's not the data point, the end-all data point, but I think it's important to understand what it can tell us.
I think it says what you're intending to.
Yeah.
So, let it go this way for now, and
Yep.
let-
See where it goes from there.
You go, yeah.
Absolutely. And there's nothing that says these can't be revised. At some point, you know, we happen to have your liaison to the town council also happens to be the state rep who is absolutely the most passionate about this program and is working the hardest to make sure that it continues. So that is helpful. Fire protection needs, and again, this is a consideration where do we need fire protection? And this is also kind of a consideration when we're designing the build outs too. This is a little bit more to the edge of what we need to know. What's the cost going to be as we prepare the engineering? What are we going to do? Is this hydrants in this area? What are we going to do? So the other thing is that this can also be an important point in helping get buy-in from people, because if, and it doesn't always happen, but if the ISO rating improves, your cost of insurance can go down. And so these are kind of the friends and family benefits, even if you don't have a contaminated well. So, and then that last one. So we talked about coming back to that last one, kind of just moving that to be a double line above it and taking away the 8.
Yeah, and just call it a gating issue or something, whatever language works.
Yeah.
Or even just leave it with no number.
Could also maybe add and say, in different amounts from different sources at different times. I mean, you know, you have this worthy project, but the program isn't coming down the pike for 2 more years.
So you're saying get rid of the number and add at different times after sources?
Don't, just insert after the word sources.
I don't see an app for
Oh,
that. You'll
sorry.
need to download one.
Apparently, when I just said different times, Siri thought I was talking to them at different times.
You're a good buddy.
Supposed to be Big Brother is in the room.
All right. So removing it from the number, removing the 8, and just saying after from different sources, adding at different times on that one. And moving that gray line up to the top there. All right. Any other questions on these? And again, I want to thank you for all the contributions that you've made. Really, a large 90% of this was pulling together what you've said and then adding in basically the fire protection piece from the town's perspective. So
So Kirsten,
Greatly
you're
appreciate
gonna
it.
make the edits and then send them to us, and then how do we thumbs up, thumbs down that?
So I'm going to make the edits we talk about today, and so I'm going to ask you to vote to approve them with those 4 edits that we just talked about.
So we vote now or we vote when we see the edits?
I think we vote now.
You need to vote now. In order for it to get to council on the 18th, we need to vote
Let's
now.
I'll make a motion that the edits that were proposed and written up by Kristen be accepted.
Second?
All in favor, or any discussion first, any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thumbs up?
Thank you very much. This is a really important component of the overall water plan that we are working on. This is one step of many. This is actually like section 3 of that. Section 1 and 2 are objective and definitions, so that's just what we write in the background. But, you know, as we have this criteria, we then can work on explaining our current environment in the terms of, speaking in terms of this criteria as well, and using this as we move forward. So hopefully I'll come back to you in September and say the council supported it, but we would absolutely love to see as many of you as possible there at the meeting on the 18th, if you can come. We'll be probably relatively early in the agenda after any public hearings, but I can't promise that, but I think we will be.
Yeah, and I'll just reinforce what Kirsten just said. We all showed up at a town council meeting a couple of years ago, and I forget what the topic was, but the council was, I think, fairly impressed by the turnout the committee had to present our point. And the whole water situation, I think, might be the most important thing we deal with as a committee. And I think if you can make it to the council meeting, try to make it. I really think it sends a message that we care about what we're doing, and we want them to have that passion that we share
So that's
for it.
August 18th,
Monday, August 18th.
at
Yep,
what time?
7 p.m.
7 PM, here.
But
Same right here.
you'll get an agenda, and that'll allow you to fine tune your arrival there.
Yeah, but you want to show up for public comment, just so you can watch the theatrics,
Well,
right?
that's,
There was one public comment this week. There was it.
I know.
One. Yep.
Summertime.
I mean, normally there's no meeting. Normally there's only one meeting in August. So, but no, they moved quickly. The council meeting was a tight 2 hours last night, and there was a lot accomplished. And that's a little off topic, but that's due to the hard work of staff, boards, volunteers, everybody pulling together and pulling in the same direction, and it's been really key. So.
Good.
Yep, so I anticipate more of that at the next meeting, and the next meeting, and the next meeting, and you're not going to hear us stop talking about water for a while. So that should be music to all of your ears.
Next item.
Thank you for what you do.
Thank you, Kirsten, yeah.
Welcome.
All right, second item is the Tinkham Garage. Everybody knows that's been going on for quite a while. There were 2 EPA meetings held in July. I believe those are on YouTube under the town meeting
They are.
channel.
Yep.
And I got this off the EPA website today. U.S. Environmental Protection Agency extended the public comment period for the Tinkham Garage site proposed plan to August 26th. Comments on the proposed plan can be submitted in writing to sprague.cheryl@epa.gov. So if you just Google Tinkham Garage on the EPA website, you'll see all the materials, and there's a docket for this project, so there's plenty of details on there. And Kirsten probably has it.
So if you go to the Water and Londonderry, I should add it under our community, but if you go to the town manager page or the utilities committee page, actually, we'll go through utilities committee because it's y'all. So if you go to your utilities committee page and click on Water and Londonderry, it takes you to this page where there's a whole page right here on the Tinkham Garage Superfund site. It includes their sheet about PFAS and private wells, all the documents they've sent us, the most up-to-date ones, information about the plan and how to do the public comment. And here's the full list of documents that they have. So you can, if you'd like to make a comment online, you can simply go here and click this link.
Yep.
And you can go ahead and make your comment here. To add to that, the assistant town manager and I are going to be working on the official town comment next week, starting on Monday, to supply. So if anybody has any thoughts, anything you would like to add to that official comment, please send that to me or drop off, write it. If you want to handwrite it, bring it to me, and we'll incorporate that in there.
Thank you, Kirsten.
You're welcome.
Next one is,
Well, 1 second before we move on. So I was out of town last week for the second EPA meeting. How well attended was the second EPA meeting? I know we had fairly good attendance at the first meeting and a fair amount of public comment.
So not as robust as the first one. It was much smaller attended. Again, this one was a federal requirement to provide a meeting in an opportunity for people to give public comment in person. They have to give multiple avenues.
Yep.
So a few people availed themselves of it, and Cheryl did another presentation, a briefer one, about the history of the site and what's going on in the causes. What was actually really valuable was that they stayed, so the meeting only took about an hour, but they stuck around for about 45 minutes afterwards talking to a couple of individual residents who had really specific questions, who hadn't really delved into this yet. And so they were able to really have those conversations, which was lovely.
Good.
So, yep, and they've been excellent, and Aaron and Cheryl have been really communicative now that they can be communicative. And so, yep, the public comment period is open through August 26th. And then Cheryl has to pull together the response. And then it goes to DOJ and EPA to negotiate with Canon site groups.
Sounds like it has some traction though, so that's good news.
yeah, it's not, from what I've been reading and what Kirsten is sharing, that sounds like things are going well.
Yep.
Knock on. All right, town water outreach. Ray had a great idea at the last water meeting to sort of duplicate a water discussion for the town and have people from the state and water utilities come in and discuss what's going on with water and what's available. We can have a presentation on the build-out plans, that kind of stuff. He's volunteered to be the water committee lead on that. So he's gonna be working on organizing that with Kirsten. And sounds like, I talked to him today about it, and Kirsten, it sounds like he jumped in with both feet and they're discussing it. And I'm gonna let him and Kirsten hash it out, and then we'll discuss it on the water committee meeting. We'll keep this group well appraised. And we'll have some information for the town, perhaps like at the high school, I guess, is where you have those events in general.
We had it in the cafeteria before. We'd have to look at it
Yeah,
and
it
see what
depends
we have
on
available and
how-
what time
how
of
it
year and
comes out.
everything, but
But
I'm
that's
sure we can find a
Kirsten
facility.
Kirsten and Ray will be working on that for us, and they'll keep us posted.
I really have to compliment Ray's vision on this. He came forward with a fantastic plan, and I think we can pull it together logistically. It'll be an excellent opportunity for residents to learn and converse with the people who matter in this.
So we'll all be excited. We get to ask Ray questions.
Well, there's a lot going on at this time, right? August, September, a lot going on, and we kind of discussed, when would be a good time to maybe even put this into practice. I mean, and who are we going to talk to, who are we going to invite, and so forth. So it's a lot of discussion we have to have, a lot of thought we have to put into it. And I think I did ask a brief question of the town manager. I think basically he thought it was a good idea, and we'll probably have further conversations with him. And so it's a work in progress,
Excellent.
And the idea is, if we're gonna put something forward to the general public, we do have to have a certain amount of education, Allow them to come if they have questions, and we don't have all the answers, but if we invite some other people that do, from DES and so forth. One thing I did kind of mention that I thought we should limit a certain amount of politicians. Local politicians, fine, but The last one we had, I don't know how many people we invited in. It must have been pretty close to 15,
Yep.
wasn't it?
Yeah, there was probably more than 15 because we had a lot of people up there as well. And last one was very narrowly focused on one very specific issue, which was the warrant article for the
Right.
High Range Road water line, which is you see is trucking along. I think Ray's vision for this is much more of a informational, almost like science fair symposium type style, where there's some explication at the beginning, and correct me if I'm wrong, like there's some speaking and explication at the beginning, and then people will have a chance to move around and ask questions and sit down and communicate with the individuals who make the decisions.
We may have the experts, speak and put their thoughts, but afterwards or before or whatever, perhaps we could even have something up on the wall with pictures, maps, so forth, where people can take a look at it and then afterwards ask questions, and it kind of explain to them what's going on
Oh, yeah.
and how they should participate. And if something comes on a warrant article, they understand this is something we should,
That's why it's there, right?
yeah,
Yep. Understand the why.
yeah.
I think we used to call them teach-ins back in the day.
Kind of like that, yeah.
Yeah, so Ray and Kirsten are working on that, and we're looking forward to great stuff. It'll be great, and the water committee is going to be a resource to Ray on this as much as he needs.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Fire hydrants, John is looking into the fire hydrant requirements.
For an official answer from John.
Yep.
But basically, across the fire hydrants cost more. This is total cost of project implications. But generally, they don't have to increase pipe size, because it's an emergency thing. For some reason, other people think fire trucks hook up to hoses up. No, they hook up to a pumper and they pump from that. And yeah, the people in the street are gonna see low pressure, but unless there's a huge project, it's the same water main that feeds the system generally. So the only increase in cost is the fire hydrant and the 2 union connections in and out for the fire hydrant. So that's some
That's a plus
consideration,
for
but that's
sure,
something
yeah.
they build into the plan that hopefully Sean wants to see built out and things like that.
So that's a
And we
plus.
need to know, the town needs to know what the cost of that is going to be, because the town is going to have to pay for that.
Well, that's the cost of each individual project, and that's why Sean wants to get somebody who can design these and build them out, and that gets included into each one, and that's how you propose a project and do a total cost analysis.
Yep.
It's individual for every single project, is different. It's different for every project, so.
So we got Martha, she's working on an article for the New Hampshire DES rebate utilization. Some questions about if you use the rebate for your POET system, can you use the balance for the connection? She has some thoughts on that, but she's not positive, so I'm gonna defer making any comments. Plus, she's the one that's doing the research.
She's also working with our legislator guy too,
Yeah, so.
Mr. Nunn.
Yeah, so Martha's getting her arms around that, and she'll have a report for us when she's back from her amazing holiday.
Yep.
High Range Road Line, Kirsten, I put your name on that with a question mark.
It's rolling along.
Shovels in the ground.
Yep. Casey and I have bi-weekly meetings. Everything is going along smoothly so far. They were making, they hit less ledge so far than it's expected. Everybody knock, please, not just me. They have, they were moving around about 400 feet per day,
Oh,
which
geez.
is really good. They jumped 102 initially, and I have to check with Casey. I'm not sure whether they're done going under, where their process is going under 102. I need to finalize. But that step was predicated upon when Henniker Drilling was going to be available. They were the subcontractor to do the bore under 102. And yeah, but everything's moving along really well on that. From a funding perspective, everything is moving smoothly. From an administrative perspective, from a construction perspective, American Excavating has been a hyper-communicative delight to work with. So, yeah, everything's solid on that. I don't have no complaints on that so far. They are doing some seismic monitoring on some of the older houses along the route. They're installing monitors just to make sure that No damage is created in the foundations. You know, they definitely have, there's some areas that are going to be more challenging than others they move forward, because I will say that they're entering the area where there's more ledge for a bit. But everything is moving along really nicely, so
Quick
Yep.
question, but you don't have any answer for it, that's fine.
I can't wait.
When this connection is finally done, do we know the potential number of houses that it could be connected to?
I think the potential is 89, but I'll double check. I don't know how many have indicated that they're going to sign up yet.
Right, that's okay.
But I'm going to ask Casey, Lynn asked me that earlier, and I'm going to bring that to my call with Casey on Thursday this week.
I think it's gonna be an interesting data point to see how many.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think also I'm
Project
curious to how many
Zero.
people have approached them as they go along too and have said, all right, well, let's talk about this now. And if you were to drive down Old Nashua Road now, you would see that there is not only construction, that even though the High Range Road water main construction is done, the line has started from Jefferson heading east to 102.
Perfect.
So that construction is done as well. I do not believe that Hannafin Farms and Rolling Meadows will be done this year. But the line on Old Nashua that is needed to connect to the High Range Road main will be done this year. The one that runs from where the High Range Road main starts all the way to 102. That will be done.
It'd be nice around December, when some of these get done, we can post a PR article in the papers of, this has been accomplished in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
I will say it will be a heck of an article this year with the amount of work that's being done. So,
Excellent.
yep. So those mains are moving along rather well. You know, the next step is to make sure that the neighborhoods, you know, as you know, Hannafin Farms and Rolling Meadows went with, they're working with a private contractor. They're not working with Penachuk on this initial build out. So but Casey's in close communication with them. But yeah, everything so far on High Range Road is, my fervent hope was that we'd get through Sunnycrest before apple season, and I think we're gonna make it, so.
Excellent.
I have a question. I don't know if you know the answer or not. Is the pipe 12-inch or 16-inch?
I don't remember. I did know that answer, but I've since removed it from my brain.
Well, usually pipe size goes by inside diameter.
Yeah.
I've measured the pipe down there, it's 12-inch. We're supposed to be 16-inch.
I will double check and see what that is. I'll ask Casey about it on Thursday, but I know that. Yeah, I'll ask Casey about it on Thursday. What the final plan was. I
think-
vaguely remember conversation about not needing the 16-inch and going with 12-inch instead as part of the engineering. But like I said, before I step out ahead of myself, I will have that conversation with Casey and then let you know what she says. Because I don't want to have this conversation until I have the actual
It's
information.
really important to know,
Yep.
okay?
But again, their engineering,
Well,
Yep.
what was the agreement? What was
Ray,
the-
that's why I said I'm going to look into that information and get back to you with it. I don't want to start saying things I'm not 100%
fine.
sure with.
That's fine.
Yep. So let me look into it.
That's interesting.
So-
I don't know if you remember or not, when we had the water tower, that was one of the questions I had for John. I said, what size is that pipe going from the water tower down to the distribution area? I thought it was bigger, but interesting. Okay, be good to find out.
All right, the water portion of the master plan, the water committee has had the water portion of the master plan for, I think, 3 months now. No one's given me any comments on it, so
I've received
Lynn,
no
it's
comments.
yours.
Yep.
It's yours now.
Yep.
I'm gonna stop talking about it.
Okay.
State Water Commission, Ron has mentioned that he's trying to bring Ray on the State Water Commission. I was gonna ask Ron about that, but he's not here, so we'll defer that to the next meeting. I'll try to get in touch with him between the meetings, so I'll not waiting to the last minute.
Yep.
Penachuk's project database, we don't have an update on that, I don't believe. We'll get it when we get it. Community outreach, Martha's working on a report. I've had a little conversation with people about doing the community outreach, but, no one's jumped in with both feet. And when they do, we'll do it. And that's it. Any questions?
Awesome. Lots of progress. It's very gratifying to see the progress.
Yeah,
See the pipe in the ground.
Yeah, it's good to see the high range. I'm thankful that the High Range Road project is where it is. I'll just say I'm thankful. and I'm pleased that we're moving forward on the build out.
The build-out plan.
Getting the criteria, I like the way that we're going about it on that, business-like, professional manner, so.
Yep, I agree.
So,
Good.
that's it.
Sewer, solid waste?
Sewer and Solid Waste Committee did not meet in July, so what I have is going to be both fairly brief and a bit of a rehash, but we will be at Old Home Days in a grouping with the Green Team and with, who am I forgetting?
Beautify Londonderry.
Londonderry, oh my God.
Your other committee, John.
You're in trouble.
You're on too many at this point if you can't remember the names of them.
Oh my God. Our focus will be, and again, this is a bit of a rehash, but we're going to focus on composting, more educational than anything else, with two angles. One will be we'll have Renewal Compost, who's, as far as I've been able to determine, the sole private company doing composting in town. So, and he's going to bring along some educational materials, some show and tell stuff, which will be interesting. And then we'll also have some materials, and I think, Joy, you're going to grab something from our friends at the state, and I'll have something from my friends at Amazon to show folks that you can do it yourself if you don't want to go outside. So we'll give them sort of both barrels on composting, literally. And in addition to that, I have a note, Ray, that you're going to round up some septic tank maintenance brochures from somebody and bring those to those so that we can get those out to the public and talk about what they should and shouldn't be doing with their septic tanks.
Correct.
And we'll let you know, unless anybody from that committee has anything else, we'll let you know how our performance at Old Home Days goes.
Good, great. Any questions for the sewer and solid waste folks?
I got a question for Joy. I think, wait a minute, you being a teacher and so forth, and I think we had some discussion about you talking to someone at the high school. Yes? And the thought was, maybe we should talk to somebody at the high school and see if there were somebody in certain classes or that would be interested in, coming to a town council meeting, or then the other thing is about composting and so forth. What the thoughts are of those folks in the high school.
Yep. And I reached out at the end of the year to the advisor for the Green Council, and he said, yes, that would be great. Let's touch base right at the beginning of the school year. And he's, said, we'll, come to one of the first meetings. So, yep.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
Awesome.
And just one more thing, Lynn, next meeting for sewer and solid waste is 8/23. We'll be able to do our recap of Old Home Days with each other. And Mike, I did receive, you sent an email about recycling grant for equipment and stuff, and I'll bring that over to our friends at DPW. I'm thinking particularly, I see frequently at town council meetings discussions about replacement costs for recycling containers on the street, and maybe that's something, if they're not already aware of it, I'll make them aware, because it looks like something they could apply for.
Yeah.
Where's that meeting gonna be held, your next meeting?
We generally do that right here.
Sunnycrest.
Right,
Yes.
Sunnycrest.
Thank you.
Great. John, anything new in the cable internet world?
Nope.
Nope. Okay, moving on. So thank you to all the subcommittees and all the work everybody's doing here. So I know there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes that doesn't always get appreciated or acknowledged. So thank you all for everything you're doing. Moving right on to roundtable. Start with Joy.
No, I'm good.
Well,
I'm good.
John,
I'm always good.
Mike,
Pass.
Pass.
Oh, Ray, yes. In speaking of schools, I happen to be in the town of Raymond, going up and looking for tractor parts, because that's what I do, and I happened to be going by the Raymond High School. So I drove up. And they've got a very large solar farm. They also are putting in a wood chip plant at the high school. And so, you know, we talk about energy, we talk about what the town is doing, and we really don't have much to do with what the school's doing. They do their own thing. But a lot of schools in particular in the state of New Hampshire have wood chip plants. And apparently, they think it's a good idea, because apparently, they think they can save money doing it. Now, then, of course, you got the environment, and, you know, what's the wood chip plant putting out for contaminants? But, getting back to solar, I mean, we've talked up to the airport, and pretty much, I guess that's, even though the property is in Londonderry, it belongs to the airport, yes?
Yes.
And so it's kind of up to them what they do. But have we had any thoughts, other than Alvin Road, as to potentially where solar could go?
As to where it could go from a municipal
Londonderry.
standpoint. So from the schools, I had a chat with Bob Slater, well over a year ago about doing something over the parking lot at the high school. But we never really went on beyond that. They don't believe their school buildings are structurally capable of handling panels on the roof, but
But
That's-
then,
but
but then
we've
they're
had that
looking, they're
discussion.
looking forward to doing a lot of building update of the high school in particular, and the other schools, and, you know, down the road, maybe they could give that some thought, but then that's up to them.
yeah, well, let me touch base, just to remind him of the conversation and see what his
And-
thoughts are.
And the other one is, I think some of us, you went, I think, also to Coca-Cola.
Mhm.
And they've given it some thought.
Mhm.
And if actually, one of the head engineers there wants to put it in their parking lot, but he has not gotten approval. I think that's a very good place to put a solar array on the ground, in a parking lot. And whether we could, I don't know how beneficial it would be to the town of Londonderry. If you're talking about private business, they can do pretty much what they want.
Right.
Yeah.
But we should encourage that sort of thing, because any local generation reduces the demand for more transmission,
Yep.
reduces the number that goes to the PUC, reduces everybody's energy bill.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
we absolutely should be in the business, even as a utility committee, of figuring out ways to encourage solar in town. I agree.
You know, like, think of the, what's Jack Bridge Road, okay? Look at those huge buildings up there with tremendous roofs that solar could go on. Now, if we're thinking clean energy and the environment, even though perhaps it's not gonna save the taxpayer money, it's still a good idea to have discussions with businesses and see if, just a thought.
I don't know how real this is, but I've seen articles in the Londonderry Times, I think, about the school system thinking about a new building, perhaps, close to where we're sitting right now. I'm assuming that it'll have to have a roof, and therefore I hope that the planning, I was thinking of your conversation coming up with Bob Slater,
Yep.
will include a good hard look at putting solar there, and,
That's great.
probably a net metering effort that could cover at least some of the other schools.
That's a great idea. Yep. Good. John?
I'm all set.
Kirsten?
Just to thank you all again for the really incredible work that you are all doing in a very short period of time. Sean, it's, since Sean has gotten here, he said over and over again how impressive it is, the amount of work that's done in this community by volunteers. And that includes every single human in this room. So thank you all for all the support and all the ideas and all the contributions that you give. It's incredibly meaningful. And as a fellow member of this community, not all staff are, but I live here and grew up here, and I have to say it's a pleasure every time. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kristen, the compliance thing, what you call it, the thing you sent out for us to review?
The Code of Ethics?
Yes. You just want any comments, you want to
Yep,
review?
they can
it
go,
next
and they
meeting?
can go straight to Tanya. Tanya's email's on there.
Okay. I guess the only concern I have is, it says in there, we have to be careful about how we influence things in the town. And my little concern about that was, well, clearly, we wanted the bill to pass, that why we did all the videos and stuff like that. So we were, by giving information to the townspeople, influence them, but it wasn't political.
Yeah, and I think that would be an excellent question to hash out with Sean. I can't speak to that particular point. I think that's great feedback,
Does
and I
everybody see
would,
my point?
Yeah,
Because if
one of
you
the-
look real close, when you read that closely, that's a fine line.
and I understand your particular concern as this committee does have objectives, right? You have objectives, and you're a working committee, and so I can absolutely see how that, and I think it's worth having that conversation. So if you can make it to that public information session, I think that would be a really productive public conversation.
Wasn't
I
some,
would do that, I think, in private first with him.
It's up to you.
isn't some of that language that you're allowed to advocate for things that are under the direction of town leadership? So if like the town leadership says, hey, we want you to advocate for this pipeline, then that you can advocate for the pipeline if you're.
Okay. That makes-
And, you know, we had the town manager as part of that presentation. You know,
Yes.
Mr. Malaguti was in the room saying, hey, this is a great pipeline, we need to, you know.
In that case, I don't want to break the rules. That's-
Yeah, there's all kinds of like electioneering rules and who can say and who can't, and staff is significantly more limited than boards are, but it depends on where you report. And so if we get to a point where you're concerned about the boundary between information and advocacy, that's certainly a conversation that we can have.
Okay.
I will say that there was a bill that the governor just vetoed that would have made it exceptionally difficult for, it would have created some interesting challenges, I guess, in how we could speak about the things that we were proposing. It created a gray area, and the governor opted not to sign that bill. So we don't have to drastically revise what we've been doing, but certainly, like I said, as you get to that point, determining that boundary between information and advocacy is going to be something that's going to be crucial to partner with Sean on.
And real quick, I want to ask Mr. Dunn, when he gets the next meeting, can he give us a presentation on how the executive council works in this state? I did not know about that. So I don't know if everybody knows what I'm talking about, but that
I
is
mean-
different than a lot of states.
It's a great podcast on Civics 101 on NHPR.
And that one, and there's a presentation next week at the brewery or someplace on that too. So, sorry about that, but that's.
Governor and council is a unique thing, and New Hampshire likes its unique. We're a big fan of unique. First in the nation.
Goes way back.
Yeah.
It does, I know.
And with that, next meeting is Tuesday, September 2nd. That'll be the Tuesday before, I believe, before the Labor Day weekend,
After.
After, yeah.
after.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
the day after.
Labor Day is September 1st.
first.
Oh, wow,
First, yeah.
okay.
It's my annual vacation. You're not catching me wrong on that one. You
know.
know that.
You know when that one is.
So Tuesday, September 2nd, 2025, 7 o'clock, right here.
Water, second Tuesday, Saturday after this, so that's the.
Ninth.
whatever- Ninth? So water on the 9th? No,
No,
No, sorry, not the 9th.
15th. Is it the 15th?
yeah, I'll be in West Virginia, I'm sorry.
Please stand by.
Today's, so the 9th is this Saturday, so the 16th.
Yes.
Yeah, 16th.
Water committee on the 16th.
Thank you. I got that one wrong. I'll change it on the posters.
That's Old Home Day.
Oh, yeah, that's Old Home Day.
That's Old Home Day.
We can't go to the 23rd, I'm gonna be out of town.
And I'm out of town that.
You want
day
to keep
too,
it on the
but-
9th?
We can go, can you do the 9th, Lori?
This Saturday?
Check my agenda.
Sorry, Mr. Breslin. We'll
Why don't you deal with that offline?
figure it out, yeah.
That 9th looks pretty good for me, so, yeah.
We'll figure it out.
And any other business to conduct tonight? I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor of the adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.
Not bad.
Thank you all.